Hey everyone, so let's talk about something we all use every single day, but maybe don't really stop to think about. The computer. I mean, what is this thing really? Today we're going to strip it all back to the absolute basics and find out. Let's dive in.
Our whole journey today kicks off with a super simple question from a character named Jigme. He just asks, what is a computer? And honestly, it's a great question. A lot of us have probably wondered the same thing, so it's the perfect place for us to start.
All right, let's get right into it and answer Jigme's question. What exactly is this machine that has completely changed our world?
Okay, so when you boil it all down, a computer really just does three basic things. First, it accepts data, which is just a fancy way of saying it takes in information. Then it processes that data. It crunches the numbers or does some work on it. And finally, it gives an output. It spits out the result. So remember these three words: input, process, output. That simple cycle, that is the core of everything a computer does. Seriously, everything. But to really get it, we've got to dig into that core principle a little deeper. I mean, how does a computer actually think? Well, as it turns out, it's probably way more familiar than you'd guess.
Okay, let's bring this home. Think about how you operate. Your eyes and your ears, they're constantly taking in information from all around you, right? That's your input. Then your brain kicks in, processes everything, and makes a decision. And then what happens? You speak or you do something. That's your output. See? Input, process, output. A computer works on that very same basic idea.
And here's a great little diagram that shows exactly that. You've got data going in, the processor doing its thing, and the result coming out. Now, you'll also see that extra box there for storage. That's a super important piece of the puzzle, the computer's memory. And we're going to talk a lot more about that in just a bit. All right, so if a computer basically works like a person, you might be asking, well, why do we even need them? Great question. And the answer is where things get really, really cool. This is where we get to talk about a computer's superpowers.
Jigme's right on the money here. I mean, we can do math problems, so what's the big deal?
Well, his question sets us up perfectly for superpower number one.
Superpower number one is just raw, unbelievable speed. Think about it. A tricky math problem might take us a minute, right? A computer does it in a tiny fraction of a second. We're talking millions of instructions per second. When it comes to pure speed, our brains, well, they're just not in the same league.
Oh man, we've all been there. Jigme got the answer wrong. It happens to the best of us, right? We get distracted, we miscalculate, and that perfectly introduces the computer's second superpower. And that superpower is accuracy. A computer just doesn't make mistakes in its calculations. As long as you give it the right information to start with, the answer will be 100% perfect. Every single time. That kind of reliability is a huge deal.
Now, Ming-Ma asks another great question that gets at something else we humans struggle with. Let me ask you this. Can you remember every single word of a book you've read? I know I can't. But a computer? Well, that's a whole different ballgame. This brings us to its next power, a massive storage capacity. A computer can store entire libraries worth of books on a disk that fits in your hand. And here's the kicker. It never, ever forgets. The data stays perfectly intact, years later, until you decide to get rid of it. Our memories can get fuzzy, but a computer's memory is crystal clear.
Okay, now this is maybe the most relatable problem ever. Jigme's tired, he's bored. I mean, who doesn't get tired of doing the same repetitive task over and over? It's just human. But a computer, well, it doesn't really have that problem. And that brings us to our last set of superpowers. First up is diligence. A computer just keeps going. It never gets tired, never gets bored. Doesn't matter if it's the first calculation or the millionth. And then there's versatility. It can jump from solving complex math to playing music to helping design a skyscraper, all without skipping a beat. It's a true jack of all trades. So let's recap. We've got incredible speed, perfect accuracy, a massive memory, and it never gets tired. It sounds pretty unstoppable, right? Like some kind of superhero. But you know what they say, every hero has their kryptonite. And of course, that's the big question. After all that, does a computer have any weaknesses? Is there a catch? Oh yeah, there's a big one. Here's the thing. For all its amazing power, a computer is, well, it's not smart. It has zero intelligence of its own. It has no common sense. And the biggest weakness of all, it can't do a single thing by itself. It's an amazing tool for sure, but it's completely useless without a person telling it exactly what to do.
So when you put all that together, the incredible strengths and those major weaknesses, you start to get a really clear picture of why this machine is so important to us.
And this is really why it all matters. We use them everywhere, right? In our offices, our cars, in hospitals, on our phones, even in our kids' toys. They're literally all around us. Why? Because they are amazing tools that we humans created to make ourselves better, faster, and more capable.
And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. If a computer is just a dumb tool, super fast and super accurate, but still just a tool with no brain, then who's the really smart one here? It kind of makes you step back and appreciate the human mind, doesn't it? The mind that was brilliant enough to invent such a powerful machine in the first place.